here's what I want to talk about today as we wrap this up. What happens when we worship? What happens when we worship? Because, like I've said it before, it's not just the time for you to get here, get the car parked, get your kids ready. They'll be singing for a little bit, then we'll get there for the message. No, the worship is a really, really important part. And I'm going to tell you why it's important and what happens when you get here. Because on your worst day, you need worship. On your best day, we love worship. But on your worst day, we need worship. And my concern is too many people minimize the power of worship. And worship's not about filling time in the service. It's about filling our lives with God's presence, which is what brings victory to our life. And then last week we talked about how we worship and what the Bible tells us of what Jesus likes. We took the word praise, and there's 7 different words for the word praise of why we lift our hands. Right? Why we may bow in worship, why we do the different expressions of worship. And when you look at it, and it's described in the book of Psalms, sounds a lot more like a Saturday college football game than it does a church service as far as what we look at. There's hands raising, people shouting and clapping, and I've seen all that at the football games. But God says, I like to see all that at church. Oh, magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. When I magnify something, does it get bigger? Well, my view of it gets bigger, right? Only my view gets bigger. God is already powerful, right? So magnifying God is not going to make him any bigger than he already is. He's all powerful, but worship simply refocuses my view on him. Because a lot of times, worship, it helps us, it's forgetting what's wrong with me and remembering what's right with God. That's what happens when I worship. So worship reminds me who's in charge. Worship reminds me of who's in charge. Once the people of Israel refocused on God through worship, God spoke to them. Let's go back to the story of Jehoshaphat there, verse 15 of 2 Chronicles 20. But here he said, listen, all you people of Judah and Jerusalem, listen, King Jehoshaphat. This is what the Lord says. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged by this mighty army, for the battle is not yours, it's God's. For the battle is not yours, it's God's. Oh, we were singing about it earlier. The battle is not your battle, it's God's battle. I love this quote by A.W. Tozer. He said, the reason why many are still troubled, still seeking, still making little forward progress is because they haven't yet come to the end of themselves. We're still trying to give orders and interfering with God's work within us. We used to say it this way, just let go and let God, right? Want to know why you're tired all the time? Want to know why you're frustrated all the time? Why you're fatigued? The reason you're so worn is because you're trying to fight battles that belong to God.